Welcome to the Dream Achievers podcast, where we focus on business owners and purpose-driven leaders in our local communities. We meet people every day where we shop, eat, and do life, and want to bring their stories to you each and every Wednesday. Now, let's get to this week's guest. Hey, welcome to another episode of Dream Achievers. This is Andy Young, joined today by Matt Jordan. Matt, I don't exactly know which thing to announce you as. I've got Clinch Valley Times Community Volunteer of the Year. I've got Clinch River Little League, Clinch River Mudcat Youth Football, Cheer, St. Paul Town Council, and even insurance guy, but also barbecue pitmaster.
That's what I'm most proud of. Yeah, that's definitely what I'm most proud of.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to be able to join us and share a little bit. But I want to kind of kick things off. You do so much in the community for the youth that are involved. What was so important that you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of it goes back to when I was a kid, seeing people in the community that took an interest in us. We had a lot of guys in our community and ladies in our community that looked out for us. I had good coaches, I had good teachers. And, that's originally the path I wanted to go down. I wanted to teach and coach. And, life just takes you where you're supposed to be. And, so when the opportunity came up for us to try to give back to our community and give our kids an opportunity within our own community, it just took off and it hasn't stopped. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, what were some of those lessons that you learned that you hope to instill in some of the kids now that you're helping?
Yeah, I really don't care about wins and losses. I know that's not the point of you don't ever want to say that, but what I want to teach these kids on the football side, I want to be a positive influence in their life. We're never going to have an adult get in the kid's face and belittle them. I've seen that in some other leagues, and that's not what we're going to do. Because from my time when I did some work for Wise County Schools for a little bit, I saw some of the kids, and you just really don't know what they go home to. And that played a big part in, forming how I wanted to do things if I ever got in a position to do them, because, sometimes a kid looks forward to that release as and sometimes that may be one of the only positive interactions they get throughout the day. Luckily we have a lot of good kids, a lot of good parents and guardians and things, but you never know what people go home to. And so I want us to be a place where kids want to come, they want to practice, they want to have fun, they want to play with us, and they know that they're going to be taken care of. They know we're going to love them up, we're going to coach them hard, we're going to try to teach them the best we can, because we're not associated with any school. We play at Castlewood, and they've been really good to us. But at the end of the day, we have kids from St. Paul, Castlewood, some kids from Lebanon. I don't care where they go to high school; it doesn't matter. I want to be a positive influence in their life and make sure that we have maybe been an influence to them to later on, if they're in a position like some of us are now, to take care of the kids when they're older. Because I don't think sports itself is I would dare to say, just based off the analytics, that when everybody talks about Division I, that there's not a lot of kids in our communities that go to D1 schools to play sports. And that's something that I want people to realize is, the kids that, may only stop playing at high school or may play small college ball, they're going to be adults. They're going to be working adults and valuable members of the community. And if we can instill in them, to be a good person and be disciplined and things like that, I'm more interested in building good people. And I think that that's really our main goal, is to, number one, give our kids an opportunity and, to try to teach them just to be good people.
Well, I think that you bring up some great points, the fact that it really matters what you're instilling in them when they're younger. I can remember I went to college at Virginia Tech and was grateful enough that I managed the catering company on campus while I was there. And part of what we would do would be the training tables. So when the athletes would come in,
Right.
and you would have these people come in, and sometimes I would see them when they would first show up at the kind of the recruit breakfast.
Yeah.
That would be on a Saturday early in the morning. They'd come, we'd go to the German club at Virginia Tech, we'd take them through, and you'd have these kids coming in that it was just like, oh man, that's the first time seeing it. And then fast forward a year or two later,
Yeah.
they're a star athlete, and sometimes they kind of forget with that of what's going on. But I remember what sticks out to me is the basketball training table that we did. Brian Randall would play football and basketball. And he stayed after every single training table and helped us clean up.
Yeah.
And I asked him one day, I said, why are you doing this? He said, I was brought up that nobody's better than somebody else.
That's right.
And
Yep.
if I'm too good to help you all pick up a point that I just ate off of, then
Yeah.
maybe I don't need to be here.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I hope our kids get, because we have a really good group of volunteers that work really hard, and they I may have gotten an award for being volunteer of the year, whatever, but I don't do what I do without those people. I mean, when we started this last year, Mike Bradley, Josh Sturgill, Corey Ellis, and Shane Hall, we got together and worked this thing from the ground up. And sometimes without Mike and Corey, I don't know if I could make it. So I might just be a face, but we're a group. I mean, we can't do anything without each other. And that's the thing about it. You want good people to be around your kids. And we have, people that I think set good examples for these kids. Another reason why I think I do a lot of what I do is what you talked about, how I was raised. My family, my parents, my grandparents, they always instilled that work ethic in me, and that, understanding that nobody's better than anybody. And, on the charitable side, I mean, I know there were times where my mom and dad, helped other kids and things, and they probably didn't have the funds to do that. I can remember, my mom and dad, and that's something that I want these kids to know, that we're always going to show up for them, because I was a decent football player, I guess, in high school, but I was a terrible basketball player. But I played, and but my mom and dad never missed a game. It didn't matter if I went in for 15 seconds, I didn't play at all, or I played a little bit. My parents always showed up. So I want these kids to know that we're always going to show up for them. We got their back, and again, talking about my mom and dad, I can remember times where the bus would stop to feed kids. And, our coaches were really good if a kid didn't have anything. But I mean, I can remember, my mom and dad stepping up and paying for meals and things. And again, when they probably didn't have it. So, that type of selflessness has been instilled in me for a long time. So you don't want to let them down.
So obviously, if you're starting a youth league from the ground up, it takes a lot of effort. To get that snowball rolling.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
there's a lot of effort up front. How do you go about tackling something like that? You and the other folks that you mentioned. There's obviously a large monetary commitment because there's equipment that has to be bought.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about what that journey's been over the last couple of years, just to be able to get to the point that you are now.
So, our kids were just starting in the T-ball type level, and Corey, one of the guys that is one of our big volunteers, he actually played high school ball when I coached at St. Paul, and our kids are the same age. And we had talked about, there's been no football in the St. Paul or Castlewood community in the last 3 years. I mean, there's a program at Eastside, and there's a program in Lebanon. So if a kid wanted to or had the means to travel 25 to 30 minutes, they can. And I wish those programs up at the best. But there's a lot of situations where a kid doesn't have the transportation, or they may not have the means to travel, 3 times a week, 25 minutes back, 25 minutes out. So, we said, hey, we've got the people here. We think we can get some facilities. We think we can get some equipment. I mean, nobody else is doing anything. Why don't we try it? So, COVID had really impacted the previous league that was in our area. Luckily, those people had stored that equipment. It was in good shape, and we reached out to them, told them what we wanted to do, and they were grateful that we were going to step up and take that on. So we started behind the gun. We had no jerseys. We had some practice pants. We had 30 good helmets, maybe. We had, practice jerseys. We had shoulder pads. But everything else, we had to start, from the ground up. So we said, what can we do? And, everybody's nickeled and dimed to death with fundraisers. So we started cooking meat. And we set up at the 4th of July in St. Paul. I'll never forget last year, we set up at the 4th of July, and something happened with some vendors. Long story short, we were the only food vendor in the Miners Exchange Bank parking lot. And we had a line from the time we opened until the fireworks started. And we raised about $3,500 that day. And that was a lot of meat. And we were scared to death, too, because the health department came. And, of course, we had no idea, I had papers, and we followed them by the letter on, you have to have your hand washing station, have to have this. We were all terrified. And but it worked out well. And that was July 4th. We ordered our jerseys the next day. And the jerseys that we ordered, we knew that we hoped that they would get us through that year, because they weren't, durable football jerseys. They were just going to get us through the year. And then we were able to get donations. We had people work really hard for that. We sold these little calendars. And anyway, towards the end of the year, we were able to, when we played our first game, we had, everybody had a helmet, everybody had a jersey, everybody had, game pants. The cheer stuff, we had to go with shorts and T-shirts just to get us through. And, we said that's one of the big goals for next year, which was what we just came through, was we wanted to get those girls actual uniforms. So we worked really, really hard. We did all the Castlewood High School football games concessions.
Yeah.
And then we did our own. We actually hosted the league's Super Bowl that we were in previously that year. So we were able to raise enough money to where we, could buy some practice equipment and have a little bit of a nest egg for this year. Plus, things that you're not told about, you've got to send those helmets off every year to be reconditioned. So that's an automatic, $1,500 to $2,500 regardless every year, depending on how many helmets you have to send off. So, coming into this year, we knew we wanted to get the kids some better jerseys. We had an opportunity to come open that we could work the Russell County Fair. Any big event that we can try to get into, if we've got the people to do it, we're going to do it. Because we don't have any county funding. We don't have any school funding. This is all grassroots, us putting the sweat in to do it. And, I've had people say before, I don't know how you do it, don't know how you guys do it, whatever. Well, if we don't, who's going to?
Yeah.
And I think the kids deserve that. My only hope is that, when my son ages out, that somebody else picks up the ball, because I don't think I could do it for 20 years. So, but
and you guys just had a really fun Halloween, it looked like. With going through, it looked like it depended on the day what the costume was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But when you see that so much of this focus on events for kids in the area winds up being around Halloween, winds up being around sports, things that people can kind of grab onto. And in the area that we're in, obviously me growing up here, moving away for years and then coming back,
right?
You take it for granted.
Yeah.
You see, you hear all these people say, "Oh my gosh, all the focus is on sports." No, I grew up going right down the road at Lebanon High School, that there was a lot of academic stuff going on as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully that we can continue to have involvement of things like this, where kids not only get enriched when they're younger, but they can get a good education and then stay here.
Well, that's what I would like to see happen. This is home. I love it here. I hope my son, wants to maybe make a home here one day. If he doesn't, I guess we'll have to pack up, move, and follow him. But that's I want these kids. The biggest thing is to make an impact on them in some way. You're talking about the academic avenue as well. I try my best through my business as well to recognize and highlight some of those teams and give them some funding too, because they're often left out. When I was in high school, I worked with the forensics team, and that opened some doors for me and showed me, that I could talk. I'm not afraid to speak in public. I'm not afraid to lead. And so I want to try to give back to those as well. Something else that we don't talk about a lot, but I want to make sure we highlight is, every Christmas, and this started as a grassroots thing. We go around on Christmas Eve with the St. Paul Fire Department, and we get donations and of toys, and Santa goes out and gives gifts out to kids on Christmas Eve. It started out that we had a bunch of stuff left over from the kids' fishing day, some fishing poles and balls and things like that. And I got a phone call from my best friend who said that they needed me to come down to the police station. He said, "There's something, I can't tell you what's going on, but I need you to get down here." He said, it's not good. And so I'm thinking maybe he's in trouble, and maybe he called me. I didn't know what was going on. I get down there and I walk in, and they all start dying laughing, and there's a Santa suit in the chair. And they said, "Hey, we're going to go around and give out gifts. Why don't you put this on and help us out?" So that, from there, we started this in 2015. So this will be our 8th year, and it's really turned into something nice. We get a lot of support from a lady that used to live in St. Paul, who now is a high-level person over at a company in Bristol that helps us out with toys, Lucretia Scott. And, we go around, and now people expect it, And actually, they started that in Bristol last year off of what we did down here. So, again, it's all just impacting, these kids and having people something to look forward to, because, you don't have to live in a metropolitan area to I think to look forward to and have things that you can have in your community. I think the Lyric Theater that we have in town is another big thing, because we want to make sure that everybody says, well, the kids don't have anything to do. That's one of the reasons why I got on town council. I wanted to impact people my age, the youth of the area, because at the end of the day, your town, we see all these coal towns throughout Southwest Virginia. My parents, or my mom's family, were from Daint, and when Clinchfield and the railroad coal died up through there, it's a sad shell of what it used to be. So I don't want that to happen to our area. I want all Southwest Virginia to grow, and I think it's people that are going to have to take the initiative to go out and be a leader in their community to make sure that we stay on the map.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but when I'm not doing amazing interviews like what you're listening to or watching right now on YouTube, I'm working with people every single day to help improve their financial lives. A lot of people come to me with questions about how can they retire on time, when should they take Social Security, or just are they on track in general with their finances. Down below in the show notes, you'll find information to be able to help see how you're tracking towards retirement with our 90-second retirement readiness quiz. Or maybe you're just wanting to see what can you do to get on track, whether that's paying down debt, student loans, or just trying to figure out, am I making the right decisions every single day? Well, if that's you, click down below so that you can utilize those resources and improve your own financial journey. Now, back to the show. Well, there's so many things that have went into trying to revitalize business in the areas. Mm-hmm. So folks like yourself that have been forward thinking to say, okay, what can we do? What is it that people keep saying? I have to go to Bristol. I have to go to Johnson City. Mm-hmm. I have to go to Kingsport to do these things because it's not here.
Right.
I could remember growing up, the Russell Theater that just reopened.
Yep.
I was telling someone the other day, the last movie that I saw, my mom and dad took me to see Dumb and Dumber. And I can remember they had heaters in there.
Yeah.
Like space heaters, just to try to warm up the area, and you could still see your breath. It was so cold.
Yeah.
We didn't make it all the way through. I did get to watch Dumb and Dumber eventually.
Yeah.
But it was so cold, and when that died, it was like the heartbeat of downtown Lebanon died with it.
Yeah.
So now with that back open, St. Paul, the same thing with the Lyric. I was lucky enough, my dad played with Dove down there.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the Flaming Margaritas.
Yeah.
But being able to go down there and then talk to folks and say, how amazing is this renovation? I know obviously tons of money went into it.
Yep.
But one of the disappointing things to hear was the average attendance so far for the year was 35 people per event.
Yeah.
So guys, you got to go out and use the
Yep.
stuff when all this money gets dumped into it so that it stays. Otherwise, it falls into a state of disrepair again because it can't stay
Yeah,
open.
and there's people that have worked really, really hard. I mean, I've been on the council 3 years, but there's been a lot of work that's went into that. You know, Kathy Stewart, Luann Wallace, that entire group have worked really, really hard. We are actually putting on an event for kids in December. We haven't made it official yet, but we're going to show the Polar Express there and kind of have a themed, PJ night. And I think we're going to have a visitor from the North Pole. So we expect that to be a good event. Something that maybe we could try to do on a regular basis down there, because again, that's what you hear. I hear it. That's one of the reasons why I ran for town council. Our kids don't have anything, here, and we don't have this and things. And, a lot of times you hear people say that, but nobody wants to step up and try to do it. So that's one of the reasons why I ran. That's one of the reasons why a lot of times I think, my wife wants to kill me, because, a lot of times I just jump in and say, well, I'll do it. That's something, we do these work goals every year, and we have to think about things we can improve on. And for the last several years, mine has been, I have to learn to say no more, because, at the end of the day, and I think I've done a little better job this year, but, talking about the kids of the area, and I have my own kid, he's the most important thing in my life, but I want to make sure that we are positively impacting the kids in our area. And, maybe it takes a few extra hours to do that. So,
Well, we see that time that goes into council members, and it's not, listen, there's not a glamorous extra that comes along with it.
$49 a month.
It's,
Yeah.
my uncle is on the council in Honaker, and,
Yep.
and obviously there's a lot of time and effort that goes into these positions.
Right.
It's not just show up at a meeting.
No.
It's not show up at ribbon cuttings. There's stuff all in between. So when you're doing this, and what you've seen here in the short term with local businesses, unfortunately we've seen some of those local businesses go out.
Right.
We saw the brewery that closed.
Yeah.
What have you seen that's trying to turn the corner to get people back in and to come into these spaces?
Yeah, I think that, you can't discount the effect that COVID had on the area. I mean, it, with businesses having to close and then reopen, and then, trying to find a workforce. I think that was the biggest part, is trying to find people that, would come back in and do the job. I know that in our area, especially in St. Paul, we have really pushed, ecotourism. We have the state park that's open, and there's big plans, for things there that we hope will drive in some visitors. I mean, if you come to St. Paul on the weekend, you're going to see tags from Georgia, Alabama, just everywhere, people coming in to ride the trails, and we're seeing more people that are coming in to hike as well. So I think once we get that established, the Southwest Virginia tourism visitor center that's going to be built there above South St. Paul, I think it's going to help. Business-wise, it was just announced that Tate Incorporated is locating in the former Bush building, looking around 170 jobs to start, and that's fantastic. I mean, you take St. Paul, that has a population of 1,000 people, give or take, if there's a cow missing, and you bring in a business, and the Russell County IDA did a really good job with bringing this in, but you bring in a business that is a quarter of your town's population. That's going to bring on the need, I think, and I think it's going to put a stress on the businesses that we have. So I see this as an opportunity for small business. My wife and I own a small business in town, and I'm not just looking out for her. I'm looking out for everybody, because I want us to prosper. I don't want a business to come in and be open for 6 months and have to leave. So I'm hoping that with this new business in town, again, it's you look at the numbers. It's almost a quarter of the total population. Our restaurants are going to be busier, if they bring people in to train, and we've got a hotel downtown that they could stay in, and something else that I think makes St. Paul extremely unique is we have a $1 billion power plant inside of town limits, and there's no other, $1 billion power plant that I know of in Southwest Virginia that a town can say that. So St. Paul is very fortunate to have that. I hope Dominion. I know that there's discussion, and I won't get into any of that, but I'm really glad that they're in our area. It's brought good people in. One of our current town council members works over there, and he's actually one of my neighbors, a great guy. And I think it's brought good people to the area. It's brought jobs to the area, and I hope that we can sustain that. Tourism is something that I think can bring in and boost businesses on the weekends and things, but we also have to remember we have people that live here 7 days a week. So you have to grow you have to be able to have your tax base being able to be supported and taken care of without having to, like I said, we're very fortunate to have Dominion. We're very fortunate that Tate is relocating now. Part of that building's in Russell County, part's in St. Paul, but we need to make sure that we seize this opportunity. Because I think the more that we invest in our citizens, the more that we invest and help our businesses, it's just a better place to live and work. And with COVID, I joke, my term was extended from May 24 to November 25 because this rule. So I say I got my sentence got extended, but I want to make sure that I take advantage of that extra time to do what I said I was going to do, because my term is up in November 25. I probably will run again, but I'm not sure yet, because again, I've got my hat in so many rings that eventually I'm probably going to have to put one down. And the football and cheerleading group, that takes up. When we start this thing, we talk every day about something that impacts that. But really, from May until October, we're doing something either every weekend or every day. This Friday actually we wrap up, and last year we said we want to do something big for the kids, because we're not going to sit on our money. I know there's some youth organizations, and they raise money and they don't spend it, or they get accused of not spending it, or people don't see them spending it. Well, I want the people to see us spend this money. So we bought this big inflatable catfish head. The kids were all excited about it. They were going to run through it. We last year we did an end of the year party at a movie theater in Norton. Had a really good turnout. Fed all the kids, and we started talking and said, what's something we could do this year that would be something big for the kids they can remember, and maybe make them want to come out next year because they know we're going to take care of them. And so somebody came up with the idea, why don't we see if we can rent out Just Jump? And I said, well, that's probably going to be expensive. So we made a phone call and we found out, yes, that's expensive. So for every kid that jumps on a trampoline this Friday and eats pizza and gets their T-shirt and a trophy, there was a lot of barbecue and hot dogs that went into that time. But we're going to be able to do that for our kids. I think probably a lot of them have the opportunity to go, but for the ones that don't, without this, I think that's great. I want people to see us that we are putting back into these kids. We're not sitting on it. We're not going to. Now, that does make going into the next year more difficult because, we do have a nest egg. We are responsible with it. But at the same time, if we can do something to positively impact these kids, we're going to. And we just have the idea that, we'll just have to work a little harder next year. And that's what you got to do.
It seems like that there's always a way that it appears.
Yeah, that's right.
If you put the effort in,
yeah.
If you make the right connections,
yep.
That when you need it, it winds up being there. You don't know how.
Right.
You lead up to it and you go, I have no clue.
Well,
this is a big mountain to climb.
I don't think I'm a firm believer in my work life, my home life, anything I do that, good luck doesn't happen to lazy people. And, I think the harder you work, you're eventually going to get a break somewhere. That's like we were, our helmets this year, we were kind of panicking because, we had to send them off to get done, and we hadn't got a lot of donations in, and we were kind of, like, okay, well, we have to have this. And, we had a couple people contact us, hey, we'd like to donate to the league this year. now they would have probably donated, whatever, but I think because people see us work so hard, and they know that we're using this for the best of to the best of our ability to help these kids. Because I can tell you, there's not a dime that goes to one of us. We are so, and that's the thing, we're so skittish about that. We every purchase we make, we're all like, okay, now here's this is what we've got to spend, it's what we got left. What do you guys think? Because at the end of the day, we have to be stewards of this league. And going into next year, I mean, this is, a big year for us because we've had 2 years now. Last year, we were just going to buy a seat of our pants. We didn't know what we were doing. This year, we learned from our mistakes from last year, and we've got a list of mistakes we made this year that we're going to get better with. But I think if we can maintain that goal of everything we do is for the kids, everything we do is to positively impact them on the cheer side, the football side, then it don't matter what the win-loss record is. I guarantee there's not a kid, that says, well, I remember in fourth grade we won XXX games, but I really hated that coach, whatever. I never want that to happen. I want our people, to coach hard, to love these kids hard, and make sure that, we are being a good steward of this league, because again, eventually we're not going to have this. We're not going to be at the fair one day or whatever. So whoever comes in and takes us after us, I want to make sure that we set something, good foundation.
So if somebody is listening to this right now or watching on YouTube and they go, you know what, I want to be able to make an impact in these kids' lives, or maybe my kids want to get involved, how do they go about that?
Well, we are very active on social media, and we're an open book. We've got a Facebook page for football, for cheer. We have a team reach thing. We talk to our people. I'm easily accessible. My face is and phone numbers on a million T-shirts in Russell County. So just reach out to us. We're a 501c nonprofit. And again, we try to make sure that everything we do is for the benefit of these kids, and to give them a good experience, and not have to travel 25 minutes to go. And again, there's nothing against any of the other leagues, or but at the same time, we feel like we have the people, we can adapt and have the facilities, and we can make a positive impact here in the community.
You definitely are making an impact. It's seen through your post. It's seen through the smiling faces of the kids that are at these events. And I'm just grateful that there are folks like you in the communities that are out there doing that. Matt, again, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Be able to take out. He stopped helping people with insurance long enough to sit with me, so I appreciate that. Until next time, this is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, wishing you guys the best, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
This has been an M3 Marketing and Media production.